Episode 4 of Invincible Season 4. We begin with Invincible coming back to his classic suit while fighting against the Phylaxian armies. This is already the third time they have attempted an invasion, and Invincible thinks this has to be some kind of joke. Suddenly, Mark's phone starts ringing. Eve is on the other end of the line and asks him to hurry up, but he tries to explain to her that there is an invasion happening on the planet right now, at this very moment. Eve needs Mark at a shopping mall because it's a very important client. While they argue about it, the rest of the Guardians of the Globe watch Mark floating on the battlefield, talking on the phone. Mark asks Eve if she can call Oliver to handle it, but unfortunately, Eve explains that under their insurance policy, it is too risky to call him to go and fight. Invincible insists again. He cannot abandon this situation. The world is in trouble. On top of that, he is a little upset because today is supposed to be the day Mark leaves the planet, and Eve has not found any replacement for him. Eve explains that she had a lot of things on her mind, but will take care of it soon. On the other side of the battlefield, Britt is talking with Robot. He thinks they need to find the portal through which the Phylaxians are coming through. However, Robot has another solution. The same solution as always. These creatures age rapidly in this dimension, so they need to find out what is blocking the aging effect. Britt would love to do that, but there are tanks deployed everywhere, and they need to deal with them somehow. Robot already has a solution for this, as he has deployed a much larger version of himself that is taking care of all the Phylaxian machines. Rex is inside this robot, and manages to destroy some of the Phylaxian army vehicles. As he does so, many of the soldiers nearby start to age, and that is when Rex realizes what is happening. The robots emit a distortion field. They simply need to destroy these vehicles. The Guardians of the Globe get to work on this. Black Samson can't understand this race. They always do the same thing and always end up defeated. But Rex thinks we should not underestimate the Phylaxians. They spend entire decades in their dimension planning the next attack, and it is only a matter of time before they figure out how to defeat them. So he thinks about going to the Phylaxian dimension and defeating them there. Amanda closely follows him as he runs toward the portal, but Britt warns Robot he should not go to that dimension. They don't know how it could affect them. They need to plan the attack properly. Unfortunately, Rex has already done his calculations, and the portal is closing fast. He is not going to let this opportunity pass, so together with Amanda, he heads into the Phylaxian dimension. Seeing that the situation is now under control, Mark tries to reach Samantha, but he is no longer needed. Oliver had already gone to handle the situation at the shopping mall, and now back on the battlefield, Donald is examining the area, looking for any point to open a portal to the Phylaxian dimension, but no energy trace has been left behind. Back with Mark, he is speaking with Samantha. She wants to know when Alan is going to leave the planet. Invincible tells her that his father has been having trouble finding Tech Jacket, but once he does, all of them will have to depart. Elsewhere in the world, Alan and Nolan are flying around searching for Tech Jacket. Alan wants to know why Nolan hasn't spoken with his wife. Nolan doesn't know what he could possibly say to her. He has put her through so much. All he wants right now is to find Tech Jacket and get off the planet. This place holds too many bad memories for him. He didn't think finding this person would take so long. The family apparently disappeared along with him some time ago, but Alan managed to trace the house that belonged to the boy's grandfather. Omni Man knows this is the last chance to find him. If he is not here, he won't care about anything, and they are leaving without him. While they are knocking on the door, an elderly man approaches them and asks if they are looking for Tech Jacket. He explains that the boy spends most of his time on his space station, but despite the fact that Nolan and Alan already have the information they wanted, they are concerned because this old man is not at all surprised to see them. The old man replies that he has seen strange people before, and besides, bad people don't knock on the door. Some moments later, at Tech Jacket's space station, he and his father are conversing when suddenly the proximity alarm goes off. Something is near the space station, but the father detects that he cannot see it anywhere. The boy tells his father to look out the window, and once he does, he can see Alan and Nolan on the other side. Tech Jacket doesn't feel they are dangerous, because if they can survive in space on their own, they have enough strength to tear this space station in half, and if they haven't done that, it's because they have come in good faith. Back at the Grayson house, the conflict begins. Mark wants Oliver to stay behind and protect Earth, but Oliver doesn't want to do that. He wants to go with his father and his brother. He thinks he'll be necessary in this war. This is his fight too. Even so, Mark tries to make Oliver see that Nolan wants him to stay and protect Earth. Mark also doesn't want to leave his mom defenseless, and if Thragg's forces return and they are not there, who is going to save them? Oliver understands the reasoning, but is a little upset because his father hasn't even come to talk to him personally. Mark explains that Nolan doesn't want want to come to the house because he doesn't want to face Debbie. Mark's mom overhears this conversation, and out of nowhere, surprising everyone, Nolan appears inside the house and asks the boys to give them some time alone. Once they leave, Debbie tells Nolan that there is nothing he could say that would make her stop hating him. Omni Man tries to explain himself. Truly, none of what he said that day meant anything to him anymore. Living on Earth had changed him, and all those years he spent with Debbie, he thought he was fooling himself, but he was wrong. He was becoming the person Debbie knew. What they shared together was real. He had been forcing himself to hold on to his Viltrum ideals, but he was wrong. And yet, despite saying all of this, Debbie doesn't believe a word of it. Nolan understands her and apologizes to the woman. Meanwhile, outside the Grayson residence, Tech Jacket and Alan are conversing. Tech Jacket wants to know why Nolan is taking so long. Alan explains that he is talking with his wife, and it might take quite a while. Alan asks Tech Jacket if he is a hero. The boy responds that he only acts when there is a very big threat. Otherwise, he mostly spends his time monitoring the planet for any space-based threat. He considers himself more of a planetary guardian. Tech Jacket asks if Alan is an alien. Alan smiles and asks what was his first clue. Back inside the Grayson house, Omni Man wants to talk with his son Oliver. He asks Mark to leave them alone. Oliver was worried that Nolan wouldn't recognize him, but how could he not? He has been missing him greatly, and now seeing how grown-up Oliver has become gives him a deep sense of nostalgia. Nolan wants to know everything Oliver has learned on this planet. The boy doesn't know where to begin. Seeing his son, Nolan has changed his mind. He wants to spend more time with him, so he invites Oliver to come along to the war. On this journey, he can teach him many things. Oliver doesn't think twice before accepting. While his father and brother are talking, Mark has traveled to Samantha's house to let her know that now is the moment the two of them must separate. After sharing a moment of farewell together, Mark starts telling Samantha that he is sorry for having to do this, for leaving her behind, for going to risk everything in space, for giving her so many worries. He never wanted to drag her into this kind of life. However, her girlfriend tells him she wants to be with Mark, no matter what that entails. Invincible tells him he doesn't know when he will return, and she tries to get him to stop talking, but he keeps going. He has been thinking about what he has gotten himself into. This is not a battle. It is a full-scale war between two impossibly powerful sides. They need him, but he doesn't know if he is strong enough to come out alive. He thinks he could die. She tells Mark again to be quiet. She doesn't want him to say that. She just wants him to hold her until he has to leave, and that is what they do. Finally, the moment arrives. Nolan, Mark, and Oliver are aboard a collision spaceship. Invincible thought they were going to travel on their own, but Alan reminds him that they cannot breathe in space. They can only hold their breath for an extended period of time. Nolan also gives everyone an intercom to communicate telepathically, meaning everyone will be able to hear each other on the battlefield. Suddenly, Oliver asks how long they can hold their breath in space. Invincible apologizes. He hasn't had time to teach him everything. Concerned, Nolan has noticed this and has already met Oliver's girlfriend and thinks she is very lovely. Days have passed, and now Tech Jacket, Oliver, and Mark are in the command cabin. They were about to go crazy from boredom and needed to see something different. At that moment, a red alert goes off. There is an object on a collision course with the ship. It is moving too fast to avoid. Alan and Nolan have also noticed this. Suddenly, the entire spaceship explodes. The command cabin initiates a special protocol. When the ship is destroyed, the bridge is ejected as a backup vessel. The problem is that neither Nolan nor Alan were in the cabin. They stayed in the part of the ship that exploded. So Mark, Tech Jacket, and Oliver head out into space to find them, but what they encounter out there takes Mark completely by surprise. Conquest, along with two other viltrumites, was waiting for them. Conquest slowly approaches Mark. He is grateful to be able to see Mark again, but this time he has new orders to massacre him and everyone around him. Conquest admits that the first time he underestimated the boy, and he assures him that this time he will need help, because no matter how many viltrumites he has nearby, he is overestimating Tech Jacket's abilities. On top of that, within Mark's team, there is young Oliver, whose arm has been reattached, but Conquest promises to break it again. This will be quite a spectacle, and Mark will be the last one he kills. Falling for the provocation, Oliver launches himself into combat. While Mark tries to stop him, Luca launches herself at Invincible. Tech Jacket, for his part, starts firing, asking if the viltrumites have any weak points. In the distance, Omni Man emerges from the wreckage of the ship and realizes that Conquest is here. The old viltrumite is fighting Oliver, and the boy is not putting up much of a fight. That is why Nolan rushes toward Conquest, attacking him from behind. Not far from there, Alan had been knocked unconscious by the explosion, but is now regaining consciousness. The third viltrumite is fighting Tech Jacket, and despite the boy throwing everything he has at him, there is no way to push the viltrumite back. Tech Jacket's only option is to fight him hand to hand. Back with Conquest, the old man grabs Nolan by the head. This is his lucky day. He cannot believe he will also get to kill the traitor. Conquest acknowledges that he has to give Nolan credit for one thing. His son is a strong man. He should be proud. The old viltrumite hits him in the nose, and Mark, who manages to break free from Luca, rushes to help him. Omni Man warns him to be careful. However, Invincible has already fought Conquest before. He thinks he can handle this. Mark starts punching the old man's face over and over again, demanding to know why he is still alive. He killed him. He watched him die. But despite Invincible hitting him hard, Conquest manages to counterattack and tells Mark he is not as strong as he thought. That is why he didn't kill him before, but now the time has come to end this. Once he finishes with Invincible, he will return to Earth and destroy everything. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Oliver is now fighting Luca, and Tech Jacket is being defeated by the third viltrumite, but help arrives in the form of Tech Jacket, who is confident his helmet will self-repair. He just needs time. Back with Conquest and Invincible, Mark still cannot believe it. He saw his body. He was dead. Conquest reveals the truth. He was a prisoner inside a steel block beneath the surface. Someone was stupid enough to think they could contain him. The battle between Oliver and Luca continues, and Oliver is not winning either. That is why Nolan once again saves his son. Luca had been looking forward to this encounter since that time on Oliver's home planet. Back to Mark versus Conquest, Invincible has finally put the pieces together. Cecil was the one who kept Conquest alive. That has to be the answer. When he returns to Earth, he is going to have a talk with him. Although Conquest promises he will not let him return anywhere, Invincible will never see anyone again. On the other side of the battlefield, Alan and Tech Jacket have teamed up to defeat the third viltrumite, and Nolan and Oliver are working together to fight Luca. Omni Man is very impressed with his son. Back with Alan, he wants to know what these three viltrumites were thinking. There were only 3 of them. It was obviously not going to be enough to win. Alan wants to know why they thought they had any chance at all. The answer he was looking for soon appears on the field, a viltrumite battlecruiser, from which ships begin to emerge. Now Mark and his friends are being overwhelmed. Both Alan and Nolan understand that things have gotten serious. They need a new battle plan. They must find cover. They cannot face these forces head on. What Nolan has not noticed is that Oliver is running out of air. He cannot breathe. He is starting to feel dizzy. Nolan advises him to head to the nearby planet, and that is exactly what Oliver does. But in moving away from the battle, he draws the attention of Conquest. The old man strikes Mark hard to buy himself enough time to go after his brother. Oliver is flying as fast as he can, but Conquest is far faster. Mark can barely keep up with him. Once all 3 are inside the planet's atmosphere, Mark can finally grab Conquest by the body and crash them both into a mountain together. Mark takes the lead, grabbing Conquest by the throat. The old man expected to recover his air the moment they entered the planet's atmosphere, which is why his lungs are now empty, and Mark is not going to let him breathe. Conquest smiles, and then flies at full speed, taking Mark along with him. However, Invincible refuses to let go of Conquest. Even so, the old man manages to drag him back out into orbit. Invincible thinks Conquest's plan is to leave him without air, but he has enough. However, he is wrong. Conquest's plan has changed. Now the first one to die will be Mark. From the planet's orbit, Conquest dives down with Invincible toward the ongoing battle below, and from orbit, Nolan cannot see his sons. That is why he begins to rage and goes searching for them. Back on the planet, Invincible is locked in a death grip with Conquest and refuses to give in. He will not let go no matter how much it hurts. The old viltrumite then strikes Mark's body hard, again and again, but no matter what, Mark does not give up. He maintains his grip firmly around Conquest's throat. The viltrumite begins to lose consciousness, and in a desperate attack, slams Mark into the ground. Following this, he drives his hands straight through Invincible's body, but Mark does not surrender. He launches himself back on top of Conquest, telling him that is not enough to stop him. The viltrumite's skin begins to turn purple, and his eyes are bloodshot. Both Mark and Conquest start to lose a lot of blood, and not only that, his intestines also begin to spill out. This battle has left a massive mark on the planet, but it has finally come to an end. Nolan and Oliver find Invincible. The boy is barely alive, but the same cannot be said of Conquest. He is dead.
That is all for today. But listen, episode 5 is coming, and it is going to be even bigger than this. If you want it fast, all you have to do is comment episode 5 down below. Every single comment pushes me to drop it sooner. Subscribe, like the video, and I will catch you next time.